What is going on, good people? Happy Saturday. Hopefully everybody had a good start to their weekend. Yeah, I'm excited about today, man. The New York Giants have wrapped up training camp. They're heading back to East Rutherford, New Jersey, and I'm excited for, the preseason to start next week. This time next week, the New York Giants will be 1-0 in the preseason after putting belt ass to the Minnesota Vikings. But before we get started, let me know if the audio is good. Let me know if the visual is good. Just give me a thumbs up or say it I'm good in the chat, and we can get this thing going. We're going to do a quick roll call as well. Shout out to the people that's already in the building. Again, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button. Let the algorithm know that we are in the building, and the algorithm will let other Giants fans know that we are also in the building. This is Late Night Giants Talk, a.k.a. the New York Giants family reunion. And what's going on, family? How we doing tonight? I'm excited, man. We got a lot of things to talk about. Hold on just a moment. All right, just want to make sure everything was good. All right, quick roll call for everybody. Let's see. My man Tony Bonino, always one of the first people to comment. He says a rookie Malachi has a shot at being number 2. We're going to talk about that today for sure. My man Joe Furr is trolling right now. He says Super Bowl with all the exclamation points. Joe, we got some things to talk about too. Miguel Franco says, good evening, chat dash by West Virginia. Hello, football. Let's effing go. That's a fact. Stephen R says Giants in 5, no matter what. Giants in 5. Oh, I like this one. Roll blue. Sedan Chair said roll blue. I love it. I like that one. I might have to steal that. Roll blue. I like that. Instead of roll tide, we rolling blue. Stephen also says Colton Hood putting clamps on CeeDee Lamb week 1. Let's talk about it, man. We got some things to talk about. I'm gonna put the topics up in a second. Let me actually go ahead so you guys can see your comments as well. Oh man, is it Machupa Papa? A play on my Chupacabra, I'm assuming. He says, what's good, Dash? Let's go, Big Blue. What's going on, man? How we doing? Sedan says that Dak getting introduced to MetLife turf. That's a fact. Can't throw the ball on your back. My man Jessa in the building. Leo Luca in the building. What's going on? Atlantic JM in the building. What's up? Hard and Finished Kennels is salute, Dad. Salute to you. Hard and Finished Kennels. Salute to you. Salute to you. Big bro in the building said, yo, little bro, let's go. That's a fact. I'm ready. I'm excited too, man. I don't know if you guys can tell me. I got a little extra pep in my step today. Football is right around the corner. I keep telling you guys that have been around for a while. I go into it's a full cycle every season. I go from optimism, high hopes, to getting my heart broken and back around again. I'm at this point right now where, either you in the car or you're not in the car. For those that don't know what I mean when I say either you in the car or you're not in the car, either you riding or you not riding. That's the point we at right now, because guess what? Real game's right around the corner. Miguel Franco says Banks knew some day one corners. We're going to talk about that too, man. Big Blue Doja in the building. What's going on? James the Giant in the building said, my man Paul. What's going on, Paul? He said, Big Dad. What's going on, Paul? Mike Fanta in the building. John David, what's going on? Deb, how you doing, Deb? What's going on, Deb? How you doing tonight? Kevin Wilson says, what's going on, Dash? Hope you're having a great weekend, my brother. I am having a great weekend. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Shout out to all the New York Giants fans that took that trip to West Virginia and enjoyed those practices. Dealt with the rain a little bit. I know some days you dealt with the rain, the humidity, the heat. So shout out to y'all. Y'all the real MVPs. Mike Fanta says, I can't wait until Madden NFL 27 drops. This might be the first year I don't buy Madden, man, in a long time. Like I bought Madden last year. I played it for like a month. The New York Giants started struggling, and I didn't feel like playing Madden anymore, even though Madden was the only time the Giants were winning for me. Atlanta JM says that they gave Tay Banks a starting reps as he's getting cooked all day. And see, here we go. We got it back and forth. It's going to definitely be a discussion when it comes to Tay Banks. Tay Banks is a topic of discussion. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and put the topics up. So what we're going to be talking about with you guys. Got the topics up. Actually, put a little background music on too while we at it. Let me know if this is too loud. Let me know if it's too loud. Hopefully it's not too loud. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Let me know if you guys can hear it. If you can't hear it, let me know. I need the vibe to be right tonight. Lorenzo Pipes, what's going on? Manny Banks, what's going on? He said, what's up, man? Long time no see. Where you been? I thank you for the thumbs up. I'm good. Audio good. Visual good. Thank you very much. Shout out to everybody in the building. And you know how it is, man. And I need your help when I'm going through these topics, man. I need to know what you guys are thinking. I always like to know the temperature in the room from other Giants fans. So yeah, make sure you guys are commenting, and we're gonna get into it. We starting off early too. We got Nate with the $4.99 super chat says, I'm trying to keep my excitement in check, but man, the hopium is strong this year. That first Carter sack on Dak will put my mind at ease. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Shout out to my man Joe Ferris with the $10 super chat. He says, show support for Big Dash. He was predicting the Super Bowl, and we ended up with 4. I did not do that last year. Cut it out. That was 2022 when we was riding that wave. Said this guy shows up bullish, rain or shine. How are all these coaches who just have been fired going to make us great? I'm glad you asked that. Just think about where these. So this wasn't a topic, but since my man Joe Ferris is so nice and polite and charitable, I'm going to answer this question for you. He says, how are all these coaches who just been fired going to make us great? So outside of Harbaugh, just think about where these other coaches that have been fired have come from. So we have Roman, who was fired as an OC. Now he's a running game coordinator. What is his strength? Creating a running scheme. When you look at Matt Nagy wasn't fired. He just ended up getting the job because he got sick of being in Kansas City and not being able to call the plays, but he was fired from Chicago. But he was also the same coach that took Trubisky and those Chicago Bears, to the playoffs. Now, if I'm not mistaken, 2 playoff runs. Again, it is what it is. And then Denard Wilson got fired by the regime in Tennessee that Brian Callahan led as a head coach, who's now the quarterbacks coach for the New York Giants and passing game coordinator. And remember, in order to get a job as a head coach, you got to be pretty good in the previous job that you did. And he is a pretty good coach, or quarterbacks coach, I should say. And that's where he is right now. So a lot of these guys go from roles that they were in. Some guys were demoted, if you don't even want to say that as far as their roles go. But everybody's playing a role in this coaching staff. And all of those roles are pretty much strengths for these coaches. So I'll break it down like that. All right, let me get caught up with the comment section already again. But shout out to my man Joe Ferris in the building, always showing love and support. Where was I at? Jay Snow says the secondary concerning Adebo has looked bad, and Banks being a starter is not good. Now you see cornerback competition is the fourth topic on the list. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, man. The first thing I want to talk about is the West Virginia impact. The West Virginia impact. Why did the New York Giants go to West Virginia outside of renovations and obviously the World Cup and stuff like that? The New York Giants went away to West Virginia in order to build camaraderie and also turn a group of players into a team. To get a group of players to buy into a scheme, to buy into an identity. And I think with the first 2 weeks of training camp, the New York Giants did succeed in bringing a certain tempo to practices, to bringing a certain physicality to practices, to bring a certain work ethic that the New York Giants have not had in a long time. Some people might say since Coughlin. I agree with that. But I think all of that was accomplished. Bringing these guys together. I saw, Believe podcast with Carl Banks and Bob Papa. They were talking about how it really is nothing else to do at the Greenbrier except for build that type of relationship, community, and stuff like that. So these guys, hopefully, I don't want to speak for everybody, hopefully created a brotherhood that this team has lacked. And I think they'll be better for it. And also now they get to go back to New Jersey, back to their homes, back to their family. And when they get to practice, I believe on Monday, because I believe they're flying out tonight, either tomorrow. So when they get back to practice on Monday, they're going to be refreshed, but also their moods are going to be picked up because they're back in their own bed, sleeping comfortably, but they're also ready to keep that same intensity going at the Quest Diagnostics facility. So that's the West Virginia impact to me. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Did you think West Virginia helped? Do you think West Virginia helped this team build the camaraderie and also build an identity? Because I do believe, as far as practice goes and preparation and stuff like that, I do believe that they created an identity out there in West Virginia. Those practices were harder, Pauls. The more physical, more demanding. Guys are getting in shape. Things that we have not seen in a while, and a certain level of dedication that was, pretty much fortified out there in West Virginia, in the hills and the mountains of West Virginia. And again, shout out to all the people that went out there and saw some of those practices. And you guys can let me know too, man. You guys are out there. It feels like the vibe is different. I say that every season, the vibe is different. And the vibe is always different than what happens. But I don't feel that way this year. But shout out to my man Joe first, because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Deb says, I cannot hear the music. I'll turn it up a little bit because I can barely hear it in my headphones too. I want a little bit of background music while I'm going. I don't want it too loud because it got a tendency to get loud too. So hopefully you guys can hear that a little bit and it's not drowned. And if it's drowned, then let me know. If it's drowning, let me know. I want the experience to be good. Shout out to my man T-Time I'm in the building. Said, what's good, Dash, man? I'm so hyped up over this team. Yeah, man, me too. Lorenzo Pipes says, Tay Banks showing out and Slayton. So you guys see it already in the comment section. In the chat, you see it already. We got people talking about what are we doing, having any kind of faith in Banks, and then other people saying, you see how Banks is playing. So let's talk about it. Actually, before we do that, actually, no, we're going to talk about that. I'll skip around a little bit. We'll talk about that now. I'm one of those people that had absolutely no more faith in Tay Banks. I didn't think he had a chance. I thought, maybe he can salvage his career as a returner. We talked about Denard Wilson. If anybody can get the best out of Tay Banks, is Denard Wilson. And so far in training camp and also in the spring, we've seen that. Now, I don't know how much of that we can believe before the game start, but right now it's absolutely something to watch. And I don't know if it's more of Tay Banks, just being outstanding in camp, because a lot of it's saying he's out there making plays, he's being competitive, he's breaking up passes. But how much of that also is the play of Paulson Adebo? That's what we don't know. Because Paulson Adebo did have an interception during training camp. But we heard a lot of things about, write-ups about Paulson Adebo getting beat pretty much. And it wasn't flawless for Tay Banks either, but he's just, right now, the belle of the ball. But we won't know for sure until we get into the preseason and see him make plays for ourselves. Obviously, preseason is preseason. Week 1's Dallas is a different level, but it got to start somewhere. It has to start somewhere. Shout out to my man Joe First with the $20 super chat. Says, you part of the Giants hype machine. They drafted you in the 3rd round, aka Darius Alexander. I'm tired of your lies. The lies. Tired of them. You aren't fooling anyone. You think you're slick. Just trying to donate and troll at the end of the day. We already know. For those that don't know, Joe First just let you guys know. So don't go crazy at Joe First in the chat. He might not care anyway. But he is trolling. He is a big New York Giants fan. And at the end of the day, even though sometimes we go back and forth and disagree on things, we still want the best for the New York Giants. We want a winning team out there on the field. So shout out to my man Joe First, always showing that support. My man Anthony Cherry with the $2 super chat. No comment, no words, just showing love and support. Appreciate that as well. Let's see what we got going on. Tony Benino says, I gave up on Tay Banks, but he surprised me. All of the other Giant fans, he looks like a number 2. Well, he might be a number 1 right now, depending on what's going on with Paulson Adebo at the end of the day. We don't know. But I will say this, man. The fall off of Paulson Adebo, man. We got to discuss this. Obviously, Joe Shane paid him a handsome amount of money. Joe Shane, it was not even a handsome amount. It was a good contract. A good contract for him. It was a lot of risk on the Giants end. And last year, he didn't live up to the contract, dealing with some injuries, also coming back from a major injury. And going into this season, I'm sitting like, okay, maybe year 2 after coming back from an injury, we might see a better version of Paulson Adebo. Instead of rehabbing all summer, rehabbing all spring, and rehabbing up towards the season starting, with him being mainly healthy or healthy, maybe he has a better off season. And he didn't start off well. If we remember the first set of OTAs and stuff like that, he missed the first couple of practices. And I remember John Harbaugh was at the podium and they asked him about Paulson Adebo's absence. He was like, yeah, this time of year is voluntary, but I definitely would like to know, what happened? Where was he? And they pretty much left it alone. And now you see there's no benefit of the doubt for Paulson Adebo. So if he's slacking a little bit, or not getting the defense down, or not making enough plays, they're not going to show him any kind of grace. And we see that already with Tay Banks getting a lot of first team snaps. Also, Greg Newsome, first team snaps. So it just might be Sunday Night Football versus the Dallas Cowboys. The secondary might just be Greg Newsome and Tay Banks, man. And again, we got a couple of weeks to the first game, but it's very intriguing to see exactly what happens with this cornerback situation. Joe Ferris with the $5 super chat says, "It is what it is." That's one of my favorite phrases because it's absolutely true. Because at the end of the day, what, Joe? At the end of the day, it is what it is. Can't do nothing about it. You're not in control. When you're not in control, it is what it is. We can't cut players. We can't sign players. We're not paying players. So for us, it is what it is. What you can control is this. If you're in the car now, Joe Ferris, only you, Joe Ferris. This is a question to you. Are you in the car or are you not in the car? Joe, I'll put you on the spot. Are you in the car, Joe? Let me know. Milk Does says Adebo better learn to use some adobo because he about to be a hot dog flipper with Evan Neal. That's hilarious. So they opening up a restaurant. They got enough money to open up they can open up a hot dog stand and flip burgers and hot dogs, right? That's what they can do. Might not have a choice. There might be some other players included on that same team, but I'm trying to be respectful at the end of the day. Try to be a little bit respectful. Shout out to Red with the $5 super chat says, "If we keep it a buck, Banks has always been in." Oh, well, hold on. If we keep it a buck, Banks have always been in perfect position, and his only problem was getting his head around. He's still not getting his head around for the most part. He plays through the hands of the receiver. We understand that's a technique that a lot of cornerbacks do. And we didn't have an issue with that with James Bradbury because he played through the hands too, but he also made plays. So people didn't, people kind of, kept it easy on him. But when it comes to Tay Banks, he did have an interception, today in practice? I believe it was today in practice. He had an interception and a pass breakup on Isaiah Likely. He does need to get his head around. He was in position to make plays, but he never came through, and that was the main problem. And also, he made a lot of business decisions. So it's not just one-dimensional when it comes to Tay Banks. He has a lot to prove when we're actually watching these games, preseason or not. I want to see if he makes business decisions. I want to see if he makes a play on the ball. I want to see if he's physical throughout, because we're seeing that in camp, but we're not necessarily seeing that. We haven't seen that ourselves for the most part. Now, the people that were in attendance might have, but it is what it is. Hold on. All right. My Chukapa Papa says, my Chukapa Papa. That's a crazy name. With the $2 super chat, just showing love and support too, man. I'm trying to stay where these comments are. Says Yo Dash is pronounced Machuca Papa. So Machuca Papa, I got you. Machuca. I'm gonna mess your name up. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to apologize. I'm sorry. I will mess it up a few times. I promise you, I will try to get it correct. Machuca Papa. Okay. I'm just letting you know. It's not the easiest for me. Trying to make it now. Says, what up, Dash? Just leaving the gym. What did I miss? We just getting started, man. We're talking about the impact of West Virginia, and we're also talking about Tay Banks. So you haven't missed too much. Let me know what you think about the Tay Banks situation. Now, again, it's show and prove. Cornerback was already a big question mark already going into the season when Paulson Adebo was penciled in as a starter. But now with Tay Banks and Greg Newsome looking like they're going to be the starter starting the season, yeah. I don't have much to say about that, but I'm going to pray and hope that Denard Wilson has these guys ready to go, and that these guys who both were first-round picks, Tay Banks was a first-round pick, Greg Newsome was a first-round pick, find their strides and kind of show what a lot of people saw when they drafted them as high as they did. We'll see what happens with that. We will absolutely see what happens with that. I want to talk about the injury report really quickly too, though. We finally had some players, not saying finally like it's a good thing. We did have some players go down with some injuries. We did have some roster moves. One of the biggest situations for me, I'll just run down some of the injuries now. Drew Phillips got a sprained knee. He worked on the sideline. Okay. But JMS, JMS. John Michael Schmitz, man. I call him my son. John Michael Schmitz, his injury bothers me like a lot. It bothers me a lot because it was how he got injured and what he was doing when he got injured that makes me think that this is something that's going to happen again. Because this is not the first time he's had a concussion, not the second time he's had a concussion, and he's had stingers before. He's had neck issues, shoulder issues, and for me, I'm worried. I'm worried about the center situation right now. Our backup center, Lucas Patrick, he has ongoing knee issues as well. So the New York Giants finished training camp in West Virginia with UDFA, Brian Hudson, and then UDFA, Jake Kubas being the primary center options for the New York Giants. Now, the New York Giants also signed Brendan Himes as another center that they picked up. Practice once, so he'll be, at practice in East Rutherford. But it scares me. The center situation scares me a lot right now. I told people before when I was on Twitter, when I found out that John Michael Schmitz went down, first person I thought about was Greg Van Roten. Like, somebody check on Greg Van Roten. Let's see what's happening with him. Let's bring him in for insurance. And I don't know, but let me know for you guys. Does John Michael Schmitz, this concussion, concern you guys? Not having a backup center available, does that concern you guys? I know it does. It definitely concerns me. Luann says I always listen to Bob Papa and Banks. I always do. The way Carl Banks is talking about these linebackers, the edge room, and these off-ball linebackers, just makes you fall in love with these linebackers, man. I'm serious. He's smiling. He's damn near glowing when he's talking about the linebackers, not just the starters either. He's talking about the linebacker depth as well. He is happy about this linebacker room, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to get some comments on the center situation we got going on. Luann also said Banks didn't like Bowen's system. He will be better in this new system. I do believe that. I absolutely do believe that. Shout out to my man Isaac in the building. What's going on, Isaac? How you doing? It's just Banks never plays the ball. He plays the man. He plays through the hands. Facts. What's going on, Dane? Dane says Big Dash by week 8, Colton Hood will be CB1. That's who I'm waiting for, man. Colton Hood, it's not like he's had a quiet training camp. It's just, more quiet than expected. I expected him to make a little bit more noise than he has. And it's not like he's not out there making plays, because he did have an interception in training camp as well. It's just that the noise behind Tay Banks is so loud right now, is drowning out everything else. The Pulse and the Debo, Tay Banks news is drowning everything out. And then Andrew Phillips goes down with a sprained knee. Not as concerned about that, because you have some guys that can step up. We already talked about a 3 safety look too that might help, with the Andrew Phillips situation. But yeah, it's a lot of question marks when it comes to the secondary. A lot of question marks. Daniel says training camp hype. Yeah, definitely a lot of hype coming out of training camp. Definitely a lot of hype. Ian Campbell says Banks wasn't always in position. I've seen him burnt too often. I remember the home opener when we had the Century jerseys on. And he got cooked, but it was Jettas at the end of the day too. But yeah, sometimes he wasn't in position. Again, he fell off. Banks fell off, and he's not even truly back on yet, because we're talking about practice at the end of the day. Training camp, we need to see him perform in games when it matters. So we hope that he's going to be back. We hope that he's playing better. But the truth of it is we haven't seen it in games yet. My true copper papa said, "All good. I got it right that time. Q Burrow brother, what's going on?" He says, don't have too much of an issue with Banks, just as long as he doesn't look for Bob Eubanks out in the field. Okay. Shout out to my man DL in the building. LV Shaw also in the building. What's going on? We're going to talk about Stephen Arthur. See the OBJ comment. We're going to talk about that. That's a wild prediction, though. Because if good Lord, if OBJ put up those kind of numbers, like, he's all the way back. He might get re-signed if he puts up those type of numbers. Hallelujah. thank you, Lord, if he put up those kind of numbers. That means Jackson Dart is cooking. If you see OBJ with those kind of numbers, or actually, I'm not even gonna put that out there. We're gonna keep it positive. Manny Banks says, as Giants fans, I would like to see OBJ, Neighbors, Fields, Likely, and Scat in the starting lineup. I think that is very possible. I think that's very possible. Whether that happens week 1 or not, I don't know. We're gonna talk about these wide receivers though, man. We are gonna talk about these wide receivers. We jumping around a bit. Tyrone Hall, what's going on? It says JMS is a concern. The question is, what are the Giants going to do about it? That's a perfect question. They keep listen. Ultimately, for 2026, the situation is it is hoping for the best with JMS, hoping that Lucas Patrick can actually be healthy enough to come in if need be. But after that, you don't have anybody that has any real history of snapping the ball. That you assume is going to make the 53. Right now, you think the New York Giants probably keep 9 offensive linemen. 9 offensive linemen. So that's your starting 5. You got Andrew Thomas, you got Runyon, you got JMS, you got CC, you got Illuminor. Then after that, you got 4 reserves. I'm assuming you keep the rookie JC Davis. You keep the only backup center that you have in Lucas Patrick. And then after that is Daniel Falele, right? And then who is that 9th offensive lineman? But as Marcus Bowe, and I forgot about Marcus Bowe. He's definitely one of those guys. So that's your guys. So are you going to cross train Marcus Bowe finally? Because I can't trust JMS. I can't trust Lucas Patrick. And then after that, nobody else really got some snapping experience. I think Marcus Bowe needs to start working on some snaps. I'll say that. Maybe you keep some of these guys on the practice squad, but again, you got to call somebody up. It's just not an ideal situation. And again, the main reason why this concerns me so much with JMS is he wasn't doing anything that he normally does on every play. Like you tried to block somebody, a little helmet to helmet contact. I don't know the force, but I'm just saying. And now you're out with a concussion. Hit my mic. Sheesh, pause. So that's the part that concerns me. It wasn't like a tush push drill or nothing like that. He goes down because he was pulling. He was pulling to make a block, had a collision. Next thing you know, the man got a concussion. That concerns me. I can't have a center getting concussion just because he ran into somebody when your job is to run into somebody. I said Brian Hudson. Did I say James Hudson? If I said James Hudson, I'm apologize right now to Brian Hudson for calling him James Hudson, because I know for a fact he wouldn't want to be confused with James Hudson, and I wouldn't want to be either. Big Blue Reborn says JMS got to go, man. It's crazy, right? It's crazy, right? It sucks too, because I thought JMS was going to be really good coming out of college. And even though last year was like his best year, it looked like he made, the most steps, like he grew. The injuries were always going to be a problem. And right now, you can't even make it through 4 padded practices without getting a concussion. That's a problem for me. Do we see many offensive linemen in real games? Like we see wide receivers with the Guardian caps. Do we see any offensive linemen with Guardian caps? Put a Guardian cap on JMS, man, and see if that helps. There got to be some offensive linemen in the NFL right now walking around with or playing with Guardian helmets. Maybe that's the solution for JMS. But we got to figure this out, man. I like Brian Hudson as a UDFA, but he didn't get any real snaps. He's been on the practice squad. So for me, Brian Hudson, I do believe Brian Hudson is a bigger and stronger center than JMS. He just does not have the experience. And even though they said during the live portions of practice today that he was showing his strength and held his own, and during the live portion, during the goal line, he was getting pushed. Like he's going to have to make a hell of a stride to try to beat out Lucas Patrick. Or Lucas Patrick also, the knee injury might just cook him and he might be done. So we'll see what happens with that. Cringy Grinchy says double wrap it. The Guardian helmet. He said, want JMS wearing the Guardian helmet. You know what I'm talking about? The big bulky protection that these guys wear during games now. And then they cover it up with like the logo. You've seen it before. What's going on, FaZe? FaZe says, Big Dash, enable gifts on your page so I can send you some change during streams. Extra money, bro, just helping out. I thought the gifts was open. I don't know. I'll have to fix that another time. I thought it was open. So that's something that I'll try to figure out. Classy TKO says, bubble tape the helmet and give him some tussing. Oh, you got to do something, man. Four padded practices and you go down already with a concussion. That's crazy to me. Stephen R says, Bo versus Big Dash knows for week 1 start at center. Marcus Bo got me all day. He got me all day. For sure. Isaac Moore says they're going to pull JMS Morton. I mean, that's a run scheme, man. You have Greg Roman with his run scheme. They pulling both guards, they pulling centers, they pulling tackles. They doing all that, man. So he has to be able to do that and survive. And again, if you're just doing your job and getting hurt, I don't know. Isaac, I don't know. Oh, you talking about the draft? The draft is another thing, man. Like we can say that we can find a center in next year's draft, which is totally possible. But we got to get through this 2026 season first, man. Trust me, I've been looking at offensive linemen already too, man. You know how I do when it comes to college football. I'm in there. Shout out to my man Deal It again. I said that earlier too. And make sure you guys subscribe to all the other Giants content creators that are currently in the chat. I got Big Blue Reborn in the building, my man Deal in the building. Make sure you guys show some love and support for those guys to get those guys a follow. They do good work. Soul Glow, what's going on? He said we shouldn't have to let go of. He left. He wanted to follow Dable. He says we shouldn't have let go of Austin Schlottman. He was a great backup. Dable snagged him quick. Yeah. And again, he got out of here so fast. I don't think Joe Shane realized it. Schlottman stepped in for JMS last year and did a fantastic job. You got to be thinking about Jackson Dart when you're making these decisions, man. You got JMS tell me a year that he played the entire season. And again, we're talking, and it's not like a bias to JMS. I was a big fan of JMS coming out to the point where I called him my own son. But his bags have been packed at the door for a while now. And he might have to get the boot, man. We'll see what happens. Again, I don't want to talk badly about him, but I'm very, very concerned with the situation. Is it well, PW Cho 50 says, what's wrong with Brian Hudson? There's nothing wrong with him. He just doesn't have the snaps or the experience. Again, I know he's a bigger and stronger center option. He just doesn't have the reps. He did a good job in preseason last year. This year, we'll see what happens, because right now he's the guy snapping the ball to Jackson Dart. He's the one responsible now. And we already know in the first 2 weeks of training camp, minus the past 2 days, or I should say minus today, he wasn't getting much of the snaps. Some, but not many. Lucas Patrick, again, he's not participating in team activities. So Brian Hudson got a lot of snaps today, and Jake Kubas got snaps, and Jake Kubas should have been moved to center, because we liked Jake Kubas when we first got him as a UDFA 2 years ago. And he's been on the practice squad since then. But they got to figure the center situation out, man. Gotta figure the center situation out. I'm gonna get some more comments, and we're gonna move to the next topic. And we're jumping around a bit. I do want to answer some of the questions also in the chat. Chill Mode, what's going on? Says Dash, what's good, brother? Do you feel the change in the air with this team, bro? I feel it. Pause. No, I absolutely. I like the end. Even with Harbaugh. Even with Harbaugh, no nonsense. Who was it? It was Jordan Renan asking him some questions, and he's looking at he was in full on practice mode. Like, Harbaugh is ready to go right now. He's ready for the season to start. He ain't got time for the BS questions from the reporters. So when Jordan Renan asked him a question about the running backs and Cam Scatterboo, and he just well, you're very vague. Get to the point, man. Get to the point. So you got his mentality right now. You see Denard Wilson's energy already. Shout out to Big Blue Reborn. They said, man, like Denard Wilson is loud as hell out there on the field coaching these guys up. Like it's definitely a different feeling. But I'm guilty. So when it comes from me, some people can roll their eyes and say, oh, you say this every year, Dash. But again, at some point in time, we're going to be right about the change. And why not this year? Why not us, right? That's corny. Why not us? Why not us? Moist No Drip says, I'm scared. I'm worried. I'm not going to say I'm scared, but I'm definitely worried. Definitely worried. It's concerning for sure. Classic TKO says, seriously, the guard. Yeah, man, he should do it. I think Tristan Wirfs, he's one of the top left tackles in the league. I believe he wears a Guardian helmet. Like, just do it, man. If anybody needs a Guardian helmet, it's John Michael Schmitz, man. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Speaking of that, though, speaking of centers and offensive line, I love to hear the fact that the New York Giants were practicing the tush push with Pancake Pat as the quarterback. I haven't got a chance to ask you guys about that. I mentioned it in one of the videos that I did in the recap yesterday. But I think that's a fantastic idea. As long as he can actually field snaps, Pancake Pack, if he can do that and you actually have a center strong enough to anchor the tush push, I like that idea. I like this idea even better. How about we just convert and not worried about, a third and inches or something like that? How about we just convert on second or third down and just do that? Anyway, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. The heavier you can get on that offensive line, the more push that you can get on short down and distance. I liked it. I just thought it was interesting to hear that. Also, I liked that Pancake Pat got a touchdown in receiving touchdown during the goal line portion of practice, because I told you guys, I said there's one play that the Baltimore Ravens had in the red zone. It was a play action. Pat Ricard will sneak out into the flat and he would be wide open all the time. So if you guys have a chance, don't do it right now because you're hanging out with us right now. But if you guys get a chance, just look up Pat Ricard touchdowns and a bunch of those highlights, same play in the red zone, play action. He sneaks out into the flat and he is literally wide open almost every time. There's so much concentration on the running back and the quarterback for Lamar Jackson. And it works with us too, because a lot of people are so focused on Jackson Dart, especially in the red zone with his ability to run, that play is going to be wide open often. I wouldn't be surprised if the first receiving touchdown of the New York Giants is Pat Ricard. I wonder if I could put a bet on that. First receiving touchdown of the season for the New York Giants, Pat Ricard out there in the flat, getting open, uncovered. Stephen R says Tyler Linderbaum would have been nice to have at the time. And when it comes to Tyler Linderbaum too, he's not a big center. He's just very, very technically sound. He has his own issues too, but that was a lot of money. And at the time, they weren't ready to give up on JMS. And at the time, I also wasn't ready to give up on JMS either. But just, again, the injuries, again, it's concerning. It's concerning. Gen X Meg says August 31st is a cut down day. It is. Also, that's another thing that we need to pay attention to. When it's a cut down day, who gets cut from other teams? Is there going to be an offensive lineman that gets cut that might be a better fit for us? It's a lot of options that they have. We just need to figure this out, though. PW Cho says I will be keying on Hudson and Kuba's preseason performances, and you got to, man. If JMS is really in concussion protocol, and that's what they're saying that it's a head injury. The only head injuries really are like concussions for the most part. So I'm assuming it's a concussion. They haven't confirmed a concussion, but everything is pointing to a concussion. If he goes into concussion protocol, he's most likely not going to play, just because they don't want to. It's the preseason, and they don't want him to, have a setback. So now, like literally, and with Lucas Patrick with the knee, it really might be Brian Hudson and Jake Kubas, the primary centers, and Brendan Himes as the primary centers now for the New York Giants. Now, I will also say this. God works in mysterious ways. Some things happen for a reason. And if that's the case, and Brian Hudson, we already said Brian Hudson is already a stronger and bigger center, something that Harbaugh takes a liking to. Maybe this is the chance that he needed to prove himself to possibly be the guy that we've been waiting for all along. All along. That's another way to look at it. That's my optimism at the end of the day. Sometimes I fall on my face, but I'm me. And that's how I feel right now. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe it's addition by subtraction at the end of the day. And just imagine that. Imagine Brian Hudson goes out there, he's lights out. Now you got a guy making undrafted free agent money versus a guy who is in a contract year looking for more money. I'm just saying. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. Man. Dealer says Kyle Shanahan is a player killer soul. Oh, who you talking? Oh, you talking to Soul? This conversation. He says, so hold on. What is this Kyle Shanahan situation going on? Soul Glow. What's going on in here? He never played the full season JMS. He hasn't. Okay. I thought something else was going on. Big Blue Reborn says communication is key, and I'm telling you, the West Virginia trip definitely started something new with our team. There's definitely a new energy. There's definitely a new energy, and there's no reason why there shouldn't be a new energy because you have different people in the room, new voices, loud voices, and then also a pedigree of winning when it comes to Harbaugh. So I think I really believe these players are buying in, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And right now we're going to move over to the wide receiver discussion. Pat Ricard equals juggernaut. Yep. Isaac Moore says Cambry having a great camp. You think he makes the team? Right now, no. But Harbaugh did say that Cambry caught his eye. So I mean that might mean something as far as special teams goes. But we're gonna move to this wide receiver competition and conversation when it comes to the depth chart. So I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom of the comments. Dorothy Slipper says, has Micah Mekhi Becton ever played center? No, I don't believe so. Because in college he was strictly a tackle. When he got to the NFL, they moved him to guard. Plus the man is like 6'7", man. A 6'7" center. Like your quarterback still got to be able to see over that. So I mean, he might be too big. Almost 400 pounds. He might be too big to play center. But hey, I'm never say never, right? Soul Glow says Spider-Man was banana. Spider-Man was fantastic. Hopefully everybody knows that. Hopefully you got a chance to see it. Spider-Man was fantastic. Yeah, it is a debate going on with Deal and a few people talking about Shanahan. Okay. All right. So Malachi Fields, everybody. Malachi Fields, Dealer. Malachi Fields. We kind of had an idea that Malachi Fields was going to be a big portion of this offense. And so far in training camp, he has been almost even better as advertised. By all reports, he's out there making plays, not just intermediate. He's going down the field. I believe he had 250-plus yard connections with Jackson Dart, out there making plays, a handful of touchdowns throughout training camp so far, to the point where people have really said, like, hey, no, he's wide receiver too. Last week they were talking, well, actually earlier this week they were still talking about Darius Slayton, still talking about Mooney, and the Mooney conversations have gotten real quiet. Even though he did make some plays too. But it's all about Malachi Fields right now. So I'm going to ask you guys right now. Is Malachi Fields doing more than you expected him to be doing, or more than you expected him to do right now? Or is he right there where you thought? Because I know some people were saying that Malachi Fields was wide receiver 2 before camp even started. So I want to know how many people really believed it, or how many people had this hope of wide receiver 2. Black John Mayer, what's going on? He says wide receiver 1, Leak 2, Slayton/Mooney, 3, Fields, 4, OBJ. OBJ has moved up in the depth charts 100%. Since the last time we had a family reunion last Saturday, Odell Beckham Jr. finally showed up and showed out. But we're talking about wide receiver 2 right now. We're going to get to OBJ in a second, though. Big Blue Reborn says, I did an episode on how Malachi Fields was the biggest loser of the combine, slow drops Oh, Slow drops all of the training camp. He looks like he can be a great receiver with the right opportunities. He's gonna get the opportunities. Again, we know that Jackson Dart gonna throw the ball. Jackson Dart gonna give you a chance to make a play, and if he throws it in the vicinity of Malachi Fields, about 9 times out of 10 he coming down with it. He coming down with it. Hold on. Isaac Moore says Slayton is a new wide receiver coach. He might be. What they call them, player coaches, right? Like they do in the NBA, player coach. Slayton, a player coach. He had a couple good plays though too, man, in practice. But I think a lot of people are out on Slayton as far as being a wide receiver too, for sure. Shout out to my man TP Way in the building. Says I hope Fields becomes that wide receiver too. Right now, he's becoming the wide receiver too. We a lot of people have poured a big glass of Malachi Field blue Kool-Aid and drinking it. I will say this. I think a lot of these guys are going to play in the preseason, and they're going to get a lot of snaps in the preseason. And then he's going to have a chance to really show us before real games start that, yeah, I'm really like that. So I'm hoping for Fields too. Jim Simpson says Fields is the perfect player for Dart. I do believe that too. Just similar. When I say this, understand I'm not saying this at the same time. If you understand. What Plaxico Burress was for Eli, just a big target, something to have faith in, 50-50 ball monster. Malachi can be that, can be that, not will be that, can be that for Jackson Dart. Because a lot of people try to throw that hoodoo on Malachi Fields, that Plaxico Burress hoodoo on. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on this kid right now. I want to be realistic when it comes to that. But that's the reason why you went out and got Malachi Fields. You want a big body receiver that can win the 50-50 balls down the field. That's what Burress did for Eli Manning, and that's what I think they're hoping that Malachi Fields can be for Jackson Dart. I'm leaving it at that. Dealer says, I would press Malachi right off the line regardless of his size because I know it takes him a minute to build up speed. I'd shade him inside also because he runs 3 routes, a slant, curl, and a go. The man has been a wide receiver for 3 seasons. 3 seasons, I believe. 3 seasons. 2 at Virginia, 1 at Notre Dame. He was recruited as a high school quarterback that converted to a wide receiver and ended up being a 3rd-round pick. His best ball should be in front of him, hopefully. If he's coached up the right way. And guess what? You know, how deep is Metcalf's? But Metcalf was fast as hell. But how deep is his route tree? Some of these wide receivers don't have a deep route tree. Everybody can't be Odell. But for what he does, and to your point, somebody might be able to press him off the line, but you got to be damn strong to press him on the line. I think he's physical enough to beat a lot of these press corners, but we'll see what happens. He said, Chris said, that's how you counter the press, move him in the slot. So they can't press him in the slot. That is something that could happen. But also, you don't do that because you already have Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely will take advantage of that same situation where you have a big body receiver and in a position where the cornerback cannot put hands on him at the line, and he got a chance to get open. I'm wondering who's faster, Isaiah Likely or Malachi Fields. I wonder. But also, I will say this, man. When you look at the combine at Malachi Fields and you see the 4.6 40, his play speed is a lot faster than that too. I will say that. But I'm curious, who's faster, Likely or Malachi Fields? King Chris says Fields for sure. I don't know. Do we have a 40 time on Likely? I don't know. I don't know about that one. T-Time, what's going on? He says, man, I don't get hyped over words, but when our players, I forget who said it, but said he's a T.O. Oh boy, I'm not going to do that. I'm not, because T.O. was fast as hell. I'm not going to do that. Now, we already talked about putting the hoodoo of Plaxico Burress on Malachi Fields. And you said it. You said you didn't say it. You said somebody said this. T.O. is a Hall of Famer. Should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, but, you know, they didn't like him personally. I'm not putting that on Malachi Fields. First of all, he's not fast enough. He might be the same size as T.O., though, but he damn sure ain't got the same speed as a T.O. But he says both drafted in the 3rd round. I'm hyped. Listen, I'm hyped too, man. I'm hyped too. And I will say this too, man, because he's doing it against our cornerbacks, I got to take it with a grain of salt. So let me see what he does next week against the Vikings. I'm trying to remember who the Vikings cornerbacks are right now. And also how long these guys play. But if Malachi Fields is running with the ones next week against Minnesota, I definitely expect him to get a couple of targets from whoever the quarterback is at that point in time. Shout out to Born for Sports in the building, another fantastic Giants content creator. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out my man Born for Sports. He says, salute the dash in chat. I'm very hyped up with our draft class, Reese and Maui Noah, proving to Coach Harbs they belong as starters. Fields flashing potential contributions to the pass and run game. Hood CB2. I tell you right now, man, it's a long, not even a long shot. We just got to see Colton Hood make some plays. It's been quiet from Colton Hoods. But I said it earlier. It's all because Tay Banks is getting all this noise and Poston Adebo is getting a lot of hate as well. And that's really like the only storyline coming out of the cornerback room right now is how good Tay Banks looks. And with that being said, like Colton Hood is pretty much getting lost in the sauce right now. But he did have a interception in training camp. They did say that he does play physically. Shout out to Bobby Skinner. Bobby Skinner did mention that when he was watching Colton Hood at practice. He said he's very physical. He's a very physical corner, and that's something that we knew already. So I want to see him make plays. I want to see him make plays. I do not think that the CB2 competition is closed. I still believe that Poston Adebo is in the mix. Colton Hood is in the mix, but right now it's Tay Banks and Newsome, and also Newsome now with a slight knee injury. Who knows when he's going to start practicing again? And we might, start the preseason with Tay Banks and Colton Hood as cornerbacks. And again, similar to the JMS situation and Brian Hudson getting first team snaps, maybe an injury is something that needed to happen in order for the guys to shine at the end of the day too. So that's the silver lining to some of these injuries. You're probably going to see even more Colton Hood because we don't know what's going on exactly with Greg Newsome and when he'll actually be back practicing. Again, they said that we lucked out. It was a knee scare, but that don't mean he's going to be good enough to go, this week or against, this week in practice or in the preseason game versus Minnesota. We'll see what happens though. But this is an opportunity for Colton Hood to step up and get more snaps than what he had before. Tiptoe says, what's up from the 808 state? That Big Dad, what's going on, man? Shout out to the 808. Shout out to the 808. Mike Fanta says the New York Football Giants are taking baby steps, and I love it. Old-fashioned football. Speaking of old-fashioned football, then we're going to get to this OBJ conversation. I love the fact that there's so much emphasis on the run game. A lot of goal line portions in practice, a lot of red zone portions of practice, a lot of running the ball in practice, a lot of trench warfare happening in pads, a lot of heavy padded practices. I'm loving all that. This time last year, behind the 8 ball when it comes to physicality. This time, the last couple of seasons, the New York Giants have just not been physical enough at all as far as competing in games. And I think that's one of the attitude shifts that we have right now is that this team is going to be way more physical than they've been in recent years. So now we talked about Malachi Fields. I want to talk about OBJ, man. Because as soon as we saw the Talking Giants report, and shout out to Justin Pinnock, shout out to my man Nicky Snacks. As soon as Nicky Snacks got that video and they looped it up, and he said that OBJ looks washed, that following week OBJ stepped out, showed out in practice, and now it's not OBJ is going to be wide receiver 6. He's a bubble player. Now OBJ is looking like he's going to be a main part of that rotation, as high as possibly wide receiver 4. So I'm gonna ask you guys this question, and I need to see it in the chat, man. As far as the depth chart goes, wide receiver 2 through wide receiver 6, where is Odell Beckham for you right now? As far as that wide receiver room, between wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 6, where do you have Odell Beckham? Let me know. Luann says Giants gave up enough to get Fields. I was not that happy about giving up picks. I hope he's worth it. Listen, that was exactly my thoughts draft night. It had nothing to do with Malachi Fields. It was all about what we gave up to get Malachi Fields. It was never about the players, about what we gave up. We gave up, obviously, it was a pick swap, and we gave up that 5th rounder. And that 5th rounder could have been, who knows, maybe Another center. Could have been. All right, Big Blue Reborn says for Odell Beckham, wide receiver 4 or 5. Black John Mara says 4. KC Smooth says wide receiver 4 for Odell. Tiptoe says OBJ is 4th on the depth chart. C. Mully says OBJ is 3. Watch, all caps. Might be. I'm not going to argue against you. King Chris TV says OBJ has the best out of every wide receiver on the roster. Is the best. I mean, I think that's what you're trying to say. OBJ is the best out of every wide receiver on the roster. Outside of Malik Neighbors. You got to add that at the end. Outside of Malik Neighbors. Right now. Joseph Wilcox says, what's going on, Papa Joe? How you doing? He says 4. Rev says wide receiver 4. A lot of people saying 4. My man Tyrone agrees with Luann about the cost of getting Malachi Fields. T. Tom says, I'm not doing it. He says it was, I think Newsom said it. I hate the comparison to Plax, but then dude said he's like T.O. and I lost it. Newsom trying to stick on the team, man. Greg Newsom has had some terrible takes. Even his Spider-Man take was terrible. If you guys saw that clip, but yeah, he can't have comps. We can't take comps from Greg Newsom. I'm sorry, Greg Newsom. If you're watching right now, we can't take comps from you, because if you sitting here comparing Malachi Fields to T.O., I don't know, bro. I don't know. Jim Simpson says wide receiver 5. Anthony Cherry says 4. LV Shore says 3. PW Cho says 4 or 5. Wide receiver 4 or 5 for Odell. Gen Xer says truly are getting back to old school, physical, hard hitting football, really feeling a modern day version of that 86 team. Ooh. Music to my ears there. Real G says wide receiver 3. Nova Nebula, what's going on? He says, I probably still have him at 6 because I think he should be rotating with Austin in the slot, but he gets the starting slot role over him, then technically 3. So I see a lot of 4s. I see some 3s, and I still see some 5s and some 6s. I think he's moved up to wide receiver 4. That's where I'm at right now. I think he's moved up to wide receiver 4. I'm absolutely drinking the Kool-Aid. Last week I said I had the picture of Kool-Aid made that Malik Neighbors was going to be playing week 1. I haven't poured the glass yet. I poured the glass. I haven't drunk the glass yet, but I poured the glass. It's iced up, ready to go. There's a strong chance that Malik Neighbors is ready for week 1. So by the end of next week, possibly. I do believe he also will get into some team activities this week, maybe some 7-on-7. Again, they're keeping that process and that plan. But a guy that was running around for 2 months straight saying that I don't expect Malik Neighbors back till week 5 is sitting here talking to you guys, admitting that possibly could be wrong, and he actually might be ready to go week 1. But enough on Neighbors. We talking about OBJ. I got OBJ at 4. I got him at 4 right now. So if everybody's healthy, Malik Neighbors at 1. I still have possibly Mooney or Slayton at 2 right now. Fields and then OBJ. That's where I'm at right now. If I was forced to bet, I do believe that Malachi Fields moves into that wide receiver 2 spot, and then you'll have Mooney and OBJ. But OBJ is definitely not on the bubble right now to me. Last week I thought he was on the bubble. This week I believe he is definitely making the team and definitely going to be a part of this offense in the rotation when it comes to these wide receivers. Speaking of wide receivers, man, some people on the outside looking in. Jalen Hyatt actually had a couple of touchdowns in practice this week. And respectfully, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all, and that sucks. As a guy that was pushing for Jalen Hyatt to be a part of this offense for all these years that he's been here, I hear that he's had a strong practice, and I absolutely do not care. Don't care at all. I don't know if you guys care about it. I was rooting for Jalen Hyatt for a while, but I absolutely do not care. It's too much stuff happening right now for me to care about Jalen Hyatt, and I say that respectfully. Respectfully. Chill Mode says Neighbors, Fields, Slayton, OBJ, Mooney, Austin. Perfect. Speaking of people that cooled down too, man, Braxton Berrios, that first week of practice for Braxton Berrios, fantastic. And then you didn't hear much this past week from Braxton Berrios. And it could have just been the defense of putting belt to ass too, though, for a lot of these practices. Speaking of that, 10 practices in 11 days, 5 of those practices in pads. The first day, the 9th day, and the 10th day, the offense actually cooked. All those days in between, the defense was putting belt to ass. So we're going to talk about this defense, but we're going to talk about this offense first. Just last week, a lot of people were concerned, worried. Jackson Dart's not getting things down fast enough. When are we gonna go back to what Jackson Dart does the best? And we have to pump the brakes. I was so happy. That was probably news of the week. Was Jackson Dart putting together 2 good practices, threw a bunch of touchdowns, moved the ball downfield, and was successful. So I was happy to see that. Hold on, where we at? Vaporizer says Neighbors, Fields, OBJ, Slayton, Austin, Berrios, Cambridge. We're not keeping 7. I don't think we're keeping 7, man. Especially with what's going on with the offensive line and injuries right now. I don't think we're keeping 7 wide receivers. He says Mooney ain't gonna make it. Roster bowl prediction. Yeah, there's a chance he might not make it. There's a chance. Like, I can't wait for actual preseason games, to happen so we can actually see these guys in action, and then we can come to an even clearer conclusion. But no, I like that, Vaporizer. I like that. Neighbors, Fields, OBJ, Slayton, Austin, Berrios, Cambry. Let me ask you this though: does the Cambry talk happen if Harbaugh didn't mention them by name? Because until he mentioned Cambry by name, a lot of people wasn't even thinking about Cambry too much. Special teams contributor for sure. As a gunner, for sure. Speaking of gunner, they had Jalen Hyatt as a gunner. People are crazy. But you try to get in where you fit in. I understand. He's fielding kicks too for the first time. I don't know, but whatever. But Cambry, man, I'm sorry. I don't think we keep 7 wide receivers. So I definitely don't think we keep Cambry. As much as of a special teams AC could be possibly, I just don't see that. I don't see it. It was a quiet camp for Austin too, but the people that were in attendance still said that he was out there active and catching the ball a lot. They just weren't reporting on it too much. So that's one thing about Austin. But really, when it came to Mooney, it's been quiet for Mooney. Very, very quiet for Mooney. He has a certain skill set too. Mooney is the type of guy that shows up in games too. Maybe not necessarily practice. But he's a guy that can get open downfield, and if you put that ball on him, pause, he can make some big plays. Born for Sports says wide receiver 4 for Odell until I can trust his health. That's a question mark too. So far, he's been able to hold up. What was Art Stapleton said? Available for every rep. Didn't miss any practices, didn't miss any snaps. So that's a good sign for Odell. And again, what is his workload really? Mooney did catch a touchdown. I did see that. Jalen Hyatt caught 2, so we take it with a grain of salt. I'm hoping that Mooney steps up. I think he got the most incentives of all the wide receivers that we signed. So hopefully he does step up. He got the most money too. So hopefully he does step up. I'm just saying it's been quite quiet. Tiptoe says if OBJ is 3, that says a lot about how weak our wide receiver corp is. Ooh. Odell Beckham Jr. being healthy for the first time in a long time, showing out in training camp. It really does not mean anything. But again, a lot of people looking at OBJ as the OBJ that was in Miami. And he did not show up in Miami, but one of the main comments Harbaugh made and also Joe Shane made when they first signed Odell Beckham is, and Harbaugh said he looks like he's in better shape than what he was when we signed him in Baltimore. So it could be that those lingering issues that Odell Beckham has been struggling with are good now. And not saying that means anything as far as how he contributes, but if everybody is saying that he wasn't really healthy and he was forcing himself on the field and now he looks like he's actually healthy, we'll see what happens at the end of the day. And again, I think he plays a lot of snaps in training camp too. I'm sorry, preseason too. So we'll see what happens with that. King Chris says jersey sales alone might keep OBJ on. Oh man, jersey sales. Another question: does OBJ go back to 13? Obviously, he can't keep number 3. I don't think that Hyde's making the team. Does Odell go back to 13? And Odell hasn't been 13 since what? Cleveland. Does he get the 13 back? It'll be available though. If he wants it, it'll be available. Hurst for real, what's going on? T-Tom says to DL a low key, the Giants have some weapons. Yeah, I do want to get back to that comment. If OBJ is wide receiver 3, then that tells us a lot about how weak the wide receiver core is. So let's just look at the wide receiver core, right? And player for player. So Malik Neighbors is Malik Neighbors. Okay. Malachi Fields is a big question mark because he has not played a game in the league yet, but there's high hopes for him. So that's not a weakness. That's just a question mark. Darnell Mooney, Darius Slayton. To me, those guys are interchangeable. Both targets down the field, speed guys. Darius Slayton at his best, a 700-yard wide receiver. Darnell Mooney at his best, a 1,000-yard wide receiver. So I don't see that as a weakness. Again, we have things that might factor into that. Calvin Austin to me is a big sleeper. He made big plays in Pittsburgh. He put belt to ass against the Giants last time he played. There's 2 touchdowns from him, but he can contribute. He is sneaky fast, not even sneaky fast. He's fast flat out, but he's a sneaky playmaker. I think that's a good option there as a wide receiver 4/wide receiver 5. If Calvin Austin is your wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, that's still good because he was wide receiver 3 for the Pittsburgh Steelers for a lot of years. After that, then you got, like I said, Odell Beckham is on here. And if Odell Beckham looks anything like he did prior to getting hurt, not during his prime, but prior to getting hurt, he can contribute as well. So I don't think it's an indictment on the wide receiver room being weak. It's just about people taking advantage of the opportunities that they've been given already. And again, it's only been practice, and he's been showing up in practice. When it comes to these games, that's where, we'll get a better idea of exactly how these guys really look. But right now, as far as practice goes, Odell Beckham has been putting some good practices together. Moist No Drip says, with the $5 super chat, says, if the football guys promised all wide receivers would play all 17 games and you could only choose one, everyone in this chat would choose OBJ as their wide receiver too. If you can promise me that Odell Beckham will not be injured, hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's the main factor when it comes to Odell Beckham, health. So the football gods, and again, this is a crazy scenario. We understand this is not a real thing. This is make believe. I understand. But if you tell me that you can guarantee OBJ be healthy, a healthy OBJ for 17 games, yeah. Arlon says no. I said hell yeah. Arlon said hell no. That's the main thing with OBJ is, can he stay healthy or not? Can he stay healthy? That's the main reason why there's so many question marks. That's why he didn't get a lot of money, because you couldn't count on him being healthy. But if you take that out of the way as a factor, hell yeah. A healthy OBJ, is he better than Mooney? Yes. Healthy OBJ, is he better than Slayton? Yes. Healthy OBJ, is he better than Austin? Yes. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? But again, that's the land of make-believe. We'll see what happens. The OBJ slander is wild, man. But I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Listen, everybody's entitled to their own, opinions, and all opinions are valid. Hopefully I didn't offend. Hopefully I didn't offend. Tiptoe says, believe in Greg Roman. I do. I believe in Greg Roman. I believe in Cam Scatterable. I believe in Pancake Pat. I believe in CC Mawanoa. I believe these guys can move people. I got question marks with JMS. I got question marks with John Runyon. I believe in Illuminor. I believe in Andrew Thomas. But mostly, I believe Greg Roman will have a running scheme that should be pretty much dangerous and fundamental to what the New York Giants try to do. Bama McDabbles, what's going on? He says Slade, Mooney, same type players. They're interchangeable, man. They're almost the same person. It's maybe a 5-pound difference between the two. Slayton a little bit taller though, I believe. A little bit taller than Mooney. But it's almost a Spider-Man meme, a little bit. They pointing at each other. It's almost the same person. Couple of drops, And then, the harder catches, they make the hard catches look easy, and the easy catches look like it's the hardest thing in the world. JJ the King says, get rid of Slayton, easy fix. Now when it comes to the cap, if the cap hit wasn't $16 million, Slayton might already be gone. Via trade, via release. But the cap hit is $16 million. So trust me, they're going to hold on just to see if they can get anything from him. But $16 million, you can go ahead and thank Joe Shane for that. You can thank Joe Shane for that. Stephen R says Cambry equals David Sills. Ain't nothing happening. I will say this. He is a better special teamer than David Sills. David Sills, I think he's still playing too. He played with the Falcons last year. If I'm not mistaken, he actually got a touchdown last year. But no, I can see that, Stephen. I can see that. I can see that. Nova Nebula says Mooney is essentially guaranteed a spot. I do believe that too with the contract, because I think he's the only one that got some type of guaranteed money. Heavy incentives too. Heavy incentives for him. Stephen R says Dart versus Newsome. Who won the fight? There was no fight. Jackson Dart scored a touchdown on I think it was a scramble drill in the red zone, and he flipped the ball to Newsome. Newsome made a comment after that, said obviously there was never any kind of issue after that, but they did a lot of trash talking back and forth. And that's exactly what Dart did. He scored a touchdown and flipped the ball to Newsome. Some people said he hit him in the helmet. There's no videotape, so we'll see what happened. Well, I don't even care because it's over now. But yes, competition is camp. And then also the way the offense was struggling, that's a great segue, Stephen Arce. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The offensive struggles. We kind of talked about it a little bit with Jackson Dart, and the offense struggling and the defense putting belt to ass for, a lot of practices in a row. But what was the main reason for the struggling of the offense? So some people say, and it was both quarterbacks too. It wasn't just Jackson Dart. Jameis was throwing a lot of interceptions too. Well, not even two, but Jameis threw a lot of interceptions. But a lot of people, the main thing that I heard or I read about Jackson Dart, it was the timing, some ball placement, some accuracy, and the ball getting away from him. Some of it was, working under the center. Getting comfortable with turning his back on the defense and play action, and pretty much getting that down, man. So footwork, we already knew footwork was an issue that he needed to work on. Mechanics was something that he needed to work on. They said his back leg looks better. The ball looks like it has some more velocity, got a little more pop in his throws, so that's a good sign. But we knew what the issues were as far as his mechanics and the issues with the ball down the field. All reports, even when Jackson Dart was struggling in camp, all the reports were saying that he looked a lot better with his deep ball accuracy. Even though the offense was struggling, the deep ball actually was better. Now, again, he did have a couple issues where the ball got away from him, but I believe it was Dan Duggan and a couple other beat writers that said that, his deep ball looks better. And then his intermediate ball has a lot more pop and velocity on it. And you can pretty much attribute that to them working on his mechanics, his footwork and stuff like that. But when it came to play action, things got sloppy. So it was sloppy because of him. It was sloppy because there was a lot of penalties from the offensive line, pre-snap penalties too, people jumping. They were working on his cadence. So for me, I'm just sitting back. He's learning to play quarterback, unlike he's played ever, really. Because when you look at Ole Miss, they wasn't really trying to develop him as a full quarterback. They played to his strengths. When you see Brian Dable was coaching for his job the whole season. He wasn't worried about developing Dart now either. Now you actually have a coach that is not on the hot seat right now, who's actually thinking about Dart's best interest and trying to develop Dart into a complete quarterback. And yes, you're going to have some struggles. Yes, you're going to have some struggles. But how did he end the training camp portion in West Virginia? Defense beating them up pretty much from day 2 to day 8. The defense was beating up on the offense. And then you finally get some news about, oh man, well, Jackson Dart was locked in. Jackson Dart looked a lot better. Jackson Dart was moving the ball against the defense. Now, I'll say this too, though. That first day that we heard that the offense had a good day, it was the first team versus second team defense, and that could have played a part in the ball being moved a lot easier. But that second day, it was first team versus first team, and he had a lot of success. And I'm sitting here like, okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Because if he struggled the entire camp and he didn't look like he made any progress, then I'd be a little bit nervous about Dart too. But this is an entirely new system, running a scheme that he is not familiar with. And of course, you're going to have those bumps and bruises, man. Of course. Growing pains. And also, people forget, man, yes, he had a successful season last year, but he had flaws coming out of Ole Miss. And we talked about them. And a lot of those flaws that he had at Ole Miss showed up last year. And that's why they got things to work on. But I will say this also about Dart. I like his attitude because he seems like he's a guy that focuses on improving day to day. And what else can you have with that? Mike Fanta says, hey, Big Dash, have we any news about the defensive line? I believe that's what you mean, the defensive line. As far as I know, everybody is healthy still. The people that are healthy are still healthy. DJ Reader, Shelby Harris. Haven't heard much about Shelby Harris, but Darius Alexander popped in practice. Lakeview Fotu had some good plays too. So that defensive line is pretty much set where they're at right now. Who's it? Anquin Barnes was the UDFA. He went down with the injury, did not participate in practice. But other than that, everybody else is still participating. Darius Alexander needs to develop. That's probably the biggest question mark not even a question mark. That's the biggest thing people are hoping for, the development of Darius Alexander. So as far as any news with the defensive line, no, not really. The trench, the practices in the trenches was good. CC Maunoa impressed a lot of people. Obviously, JMS got hurt. Runyon, nobody's been talking much about Runyon, and when you don't hear any news about offensive linemen, that means they're pretty much doing a pretty good job. Hold on just a moment. Just a moment. All right, where was I at? Yeah, defense. So with the defense, well, that's a wait and see. We'll find out next week against Minnesota if we're able to stop the run. That'll answer the questions there. Yeah, that's it. Dealer says that would be crazy to me if this team kept Odell and cut Mooney. That would make no sense to me. It wouldn't be Odell making the team over Mooney. It would be because Mooney's on the outside for the most part. I think Odell plays inside this year in the slot. So it wouldn't be because of Odell. It'd just be Mooney didn't show us anything. But again, I think Mooney stays, man. I think that the people on the outside are Hyatt, Cambry, Barrios to me. Those are guys on the outside looking in. They cut Bo Collins. I don't think Gibson makes the team. Xavier Gibson makes the team. Isaiah Hodgins, unfortunately, because I'm a fan of Isaiah Hodgins, it just that 6 makes sense. And Mooney should be on the team with Odell, in my opinion. Thunder, what's going on? He says, I heard his name being called all camp. Dash. Which one you talking about? Who you talking about? You heard of whose name being called all camp? Let me know. I saw that too. Said I saw Madden 27 simulations with OBJ wearing 13. I saw that too. I see Victor Cruz being brought up in the chat. What happened? How was Victor Cruz being brought up? Let me know. Y'all must be deep in the conversation about wide receivers. Black John Murray says Dart struggled in camp last year until around practice 6 or 7, and then he turned it around. Same as this year so far. I do agree with that. That was an observation last year. They said Dart didn't look good in camp, and then he got better. 100%. A lot of people, but you saw it though. Black John Murray, I know you saw it though. People was ready to jump ship already. Remember how fast people jump ship? It's crazy to me. A couple of struggling practices, everybody gave up, man. It's crazy to me. You either in the car or you're not in the car. It's too late. We here. 2026 season is here. You got to get in the car, no matter what. Good to bad, happy and sad. King Chris says OBJ disrespect is crazy. Nah, man, listen, man. It's been a while since OBJ has done something. And that's what it is. Though these are legitimate concerns. It's OBJ's, time to prove people wrong if he can. And it's not about being right now. It's not about being right, being wrong right now. We talking about concerns and opinions at the end of the day. But also at the end of the day, somebody going to be wrong or somebody going to be right. And depending on how much you care about being wrong or right, you might feel a certain way. Arlon says OBJ is there to mentor neighbors. I thought that too. And that's the reason why I want him to be on the team, because you have somebody that can actually grab neighbors, pull them to the side and say, hey, run this route this way. The guy's playing you this way. Here's a point to try how to beat that. This type of coverage, I try this next time. And that's why I wanted to keep OBJ too. It was never about what OBJ was going to do as far as a receiver on the team. It was about what can OBJ do for that wide receiver room. But all of a sudden, the man out here making plays and looking good and looking fast. And now it's like, oh, maybe it could be a situation where he actually contributes in 2026. And then also, I'll say this too. When it comes to OBJ, what better story is that? And I know some people, we don't give a damn about stories. We care about wins. But if OBJ actually plays and contributes, I would assume that winning follows that. So for me, I mean, I love the storyline. If it works out, cool. If it doesn't work out, cool. I'm gonna be a Giants fan regardless. I'm in here for life. Big Blue Nation. We already know what it is, and we've been struggling long enough. We've been bad long enough. I'm not worried about it too much. Luann says, you guys need to stop making fun at Slayton. He is a decent wide receiver. He was very good wide receiver for Jones. When it comes to Slayton, right, the only person that can stop people from making fun of Darius Slayton is Darius Slayton. He's the one that was dropping the ball. So all this heat that people have for Darius Slayton is because of Darius Slayton. If he was like as a wide receiver, your job is to hold on to the ball. That's it. That's your job. And he had issues holding on to the ball. And people have issues with him having issues holding on to the ball. And that's it. The best thing that Darius Slayton could do is hold on to the ball. And if he does that, then a lot of people will have to shut the hell up. And then Luann, you get what you want. People to shut up talking about Darius Slayton. Why? Because he did his damn job and he did it well. But yes. And that's the only reason why he's still on the team, because he did just enough. Despite all the drops, he made enough positive plays for people to say, or I should say a GM to say, maybe he does make the step. And then that's what we're waiting on. We have never seen the step after that. We've seen the decline, actually. But yes, I remember plays. This what gave me the faith in Slayton last year. Remember what I was saying last year? I said, oh, Slayton could get 75 catches. He could be a 1,000-yard wide receiver. How many catches did he have last year? 40? 45, 50 catches? Maybe 35? How many catches did he have last year? The whole point was he was nowhere near 75 catches, and nowhere near 1,000 yards. And that was with no neighbors. And what happened? We saw Wan'Dale Robinson step up when Darius Slayton should have been the one that stepped up. But in his defense, and we know this now, he played with a sports hernia all last year. But and then here's my pushback to that. So you played hurt all last year, and you didn't help us, though. You playing hurt didn't help. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Shout out to my man Joe First. A Dad's Life says, I don't understand the OBJ hate. 48-year-old Mike Evans just got a new bag, didn't he? He's also been healthy, though. Mike Evans has been healthy in, was it every year, 1,000 yards every season, except for what, last year, I think it was? Or it might have been the year before. And he's hurt right now, too, Mike Evans. Messing around in San Francisco. Messing around in San Francisco. He's hurt right now. And I do apologize. I got to get back to the bottom of these comments. I'm going all the way to the bottom. I'm 20 minutes behind. I apologize. I got to get caught up because I'm starting a new section. All right, here we go. Dealer says, but Dad's basically every wide receiver option on his team has issues holding on to the ball. Mooney has had his issues, as well as Odell. He's dropped passes in big games for us. If you're going to include drops, you got to include Malik Neighbors too, his rookie year. Neighbors had some big-ass drops his rookie year. Nobody bringing that up either, though. I remember that Washington game. On the sideline, dropped that ball. Remember that? Yeah. So, yeah, everybody. And the funny thing about it, as Detroit and Amon-Ra about his drops. A lot of drops for Amon-Ra too, but again, when the big plays outweigh the bad plays, then that narrative goes away. And for us, unfortunately, our wide receivers haven't had enough big plays to outweigh the bad plays, so the narrative stays. But it is what it is. I want to talk about the bright spot of practice of training camp so far, man. Before we get out of here. Who had 37 targets? Slayton had more than 37 targets. I think Slayton had more. Hold on, I got to look at that now. Was it Darius Slayton? I gotta find this now. Yeah, he had 63 targets, 37 receptions. There you go. So even worse than I thought. Thank you, E-Mac. Damn. 37 catches, 538 yards. 14 games played with one damn touchdown. Damn. $16 million cap hit. And that's why Malachi Fields got, picked up in hopes of replacing what we have at wide receiver too. Okay, yeah. But I want to get to this defense. I want to get to this bright spot of training camp. And it was defense stole the show basically all training camp long, especially some of the new additions, some of the second year guys. So I want to start with Abdul Carter. I want to start with Abdul Carter. And the man beat Andrew Thomas a few times, right? He beat Andrew Thomas a few times, got some would-be sacks, and by all reports, they say that Abdul Carter looks unblockable. Abdul Carter looks unblockable. So I'm sitting back, and I'm like, is it Andrew Thomas? Or is it that Abdul Carter has taken that step that we've been waiting for? He said, LB Shore says, put Slayton in the effing bathroom. Lorenzo Pipe says our defense is coming together. No, it is. It is, absolutely. Tiptoe says Abdul Carter is going to ball out, double-digit sacks and coming. I do believe that as well. But I thought about it too, because somebody had sent me a message and they said, man, I'm concerned about Andrew Thomas. And I'm sitting here like, said, we're taking this way out of way out of pocket, right? I don't think that Abdul Carter being successful is an indictment on Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas is solidified out here. Solidified. Top 5, top 3, maybe even a top 2 left tackle in the league. You don't win every rep. And I go back to this other comment being made. When they talk about offensive linemen and the flack that offensive linemen get. Said offensive linemen, the offensive lineman can have 75 snaps. 75 snaps in the game. The offensive lineman can have 75 snaps. If he loses 3 of those 75 snaps, all people are going to talk about are those 3 snaps that he lost, never mind the other, 72 snaps that he won. So when we talk about Abdul Carter beating Andrew Thomas, for as far as what I know, it was 3 times that he beat Andrew Thomas. 3 times. But I'm pretty sure they didn't go up against each other 3 times. So you got to take it, man. You got to think about it that way. You got to think about it that way, man, because there's no other way. There's no other way that you can look at it, except for if you just want to be negative. And if you just want to be negative, then that's just something that you got to deal with. But for me, it's more about Abdul Carter turning into the person that we've been looking for when we drafted him, and that's what it is for me. That's what it is for me. Hold on, this is Rice and Reason says, question, is the field in West Virginia the reason why we did not have more injuries? I'm afraid of the injury bug when team comes back to Jersey. I didn't want to say it. I absolutely didn't want to say it. But yeah. I'm concerned about that a little bit. I am definitely concerned about that a little bit. I didn't want to say it. Obviously, out there in the grass, for the most part, the team has been fairly healthy through training camp, especially when you look around the league. But a lot of these other teams that had these injuries, they're on grass. They're on natural grass. So I'm just like, I hope that when they get back to East Rutherford that there aren't any uptick or an uptick in injuries, but it's something that just might happen, but I'm praying that it doesn't. But I hate that you brought that up, Rice and Reason. I hate that you brought that up. Tiptoe says injuries are always a concern. Depth is key. That's one thing to combat it, is having good depth for sure. Classy TKO says the World Cup having grass everywhere is maddening. That they can do it, but we can't. That's crazy. That's crazy because they can absolutely do it. They can absolutely do it. Dealer says I've always believed in Carter as a pass rusher. It's just everything else that goes along with this game. Will Carter be OC Umenyiora, who was just as good, as a pass rusher, or will the rest of his game develop? I'm going to say this. If he turns into, he can be better than OC. He already got a better bag than OC anyway. Actually, no, that's saying a lot. Let me walk that back. I'm going to walk that back, Dealer. The expectation of Abdul Carter is already higher than what OC Umenyiora was. I'll say that. That's a better way of saying it. So if I ask you guys, if Abdul Carter has double-digit sacks this year, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised at that. If I say Abdul Carter could possibly be Defensive Player of the Year, then you can say, then you'd start having a pause on that. But when you look at some of the betting odds at Abdul Carter being Defensive Player of the Year, they're not as high as you would think. So a lot of people are thinking highly of Abdul Carter, and then just the stories from camp make it that much better. So that's Abdul Carter. I want to talk about Arvell Reese now too. Arvell Reese. Dealer laughing at me said, yes, it is. Yeah, man. Leo Lucas says, Big Dash, have you seen the new Spider-Man yet? I talked about it last week. I absolutely did, and I loved it. Spider-Man was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Stephen R. says, OC 6 sacks in one game versus Philadelphia. I remember that. It was a King Dunlap he beat up on. OC doesn't have a bag. That's why I had to walk it back. Like, OC had a serious first step He did a lot with quickness too. So he had counter moves. He had good hands. OC had good hands. That's why I had to walk that back. As soon as I said it didn't sound right, I had to walk it back. Dealer says, I think OC had no. We'll find out this year, but no. No way. And OC was quick. That first step is not faster than Carter. Not faster. I was listening to Carl Banks talk about Carter today, and it was like his first step is so fast that they were saying that the defense was getting called for some, jumping a little bit offsides and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there like, and then Carl Banks says he can even wait. That's how fast his first step is. Like he can, just to make sure he doesn't cause a penalty, he can almost wait. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Carl Banks like, does he really mean that, or is he just over exaggerating? No, that first step is really that fast though. I think his first step is quicker than OC's for sure. And OC had the first. OC was really fast. Shout out to Lamar Jackson 6864 for becoming a channel member. Welcome to the Big Blue Nation. Shout out to you. Thank you for the love and support. Tony Owens says, I was there yesterday for the last day of training camp. Got to meet a couple of the guys. Talked with Brandon London and Bobby Skinner. Plus, I got 4 autographs. Had a blast. New York Giants for life, man. Shout out to you, man. A lot of you guys experienced that whole West Virginia training camp. I'm a little bit jealous about it. I'm a little bit jealous. I'm gonna be honest. Glad you guys got a chance to enjoy it though. But yeah, I wish I would have gone. It's West Virginia at the end of the day. Some of you guys are in driving distance. Some people flew out there. I saw it was crazy. A lot of Giants fans showed up too, man. Y'all guys made that trek out there. Just shows you guys are excited for the season, excited for the changes at head coach, and excited to see what this team can actually do this year. Keith Johnson says, press man changes everything. Abdul Carter missed all of these sacks by half a second. Yes, that's interesting. Now that's interesting because I was saying that last year too, man, because it was like we just need Carter to finish. Just need him to finish. That word finish too, because every time I say finish or hear the word finish, I think of Shane Bowen yelling finish, right? It strikes a nerve, right? It shouldn't, but it does. But it was almost king of the almost, right? King of the almost. And now you're seeing how he's getting to the quarterback even faster now. So yeah, I love that part of it. King of the almost though for a while. Classy TKO says Carter is faster. OC was lanky wingspan. OC did have a wingspan. Again, I don't want to make it seem like OC was nice. OC was nice. Yeah, nothing bad. I hate that it came off that way too. OC did have a pass rush bag. OC was nice. OC had a quick first step. I'm just saying, and he's a Super Bowl winner with us. I'm just saying, our Abdul Carter's first step is faster than OC. That's it. It's a faster first step. And I think right now the expectation on Abdul Carter's shoulders is higher than OC's ever was. Same thing with Arvell Reese. I did want to move to Arvell Reese, right? Arvell Reese was another one, right? And I do see, shout out to everybody, and I see the chat going right now. You guys are interacting with each other. Love that. You guys keep on doing that. And we was able to get that troll out of here, I think. I tried to ignore the troll and snipe some stuff, but, sometimes they're a little bit hard-headed. Shout out to my man Tuto with the $4.99 super chat. Says, salute, respects to Big Dash, king of New York Giants media podcast. I wish I was. He says, and all diehard Giant fans across the pond. Greetings from all of us in Northern Italy. Cheers, mate. Shout out to my man Tuto. What's going on, man? How you doing? Good luck to the team, man. If you're around the team, tell them I said good luck as well. Shout out to you. Thunder says, OC had 7 sack night dash. I think Carter is more gifted with speed and power along with awareness. I remember, like I said, that he beat up on King Dunlap. Unblockable in that game. Who was that? Donovan McNabb was a quarterback at that time. I know he was tired of seeing OC that night. And I think we had all together what we had, like 12 that night, 12 that game. I think that was a night game too. It might have been a night game. And so all love and respect to OC. And we haven't seen that since. I don't think anybody has had that many sacks in the game either since OC did it. But I do. Damn, 7 in the night is fantastic, man. Sometimes you just in the zone, man. He was in what they call flow state, right? He was in that flow state. Please, I'm trying to get to Arvell Reese, man. I'm trying to get to Arvell Reese, man. Arvell Reese is what the New York Giants have been waiting for. And this is coming from a person that was absolutely on the Sonny Styles bandwagon going into the draft. Did not expect Arvell Reese to be available at 5. I was full speed ahead when it came to Sonny Styles, and I still believe Sonny Styles is going to be a fantastic player. But the difference is this. The physicality, the violent nature that Arvell Reese plays with, and you can ask Cam Scatterbull about it now too, is something that the New York Giants needed. Like, I love the coverage capability of a Sonny Styles. I love the versatility of a Sonny Styles. I love the tackle rate of a Sonny Styles. But the New York Giants, and I do believe that Sonny Styles would have been good for us too. But what the New York Giants needed was a person that the rest of the team can feed off of. And the physicality that Arvell Reese brings, Abdul Carter's going to feed off it. Brian Burns, the leader of the defense, the leader of the damn team almost, is going to feed off it. Darius Alexander is going to feed off it. Tate Banks, Andrew Phillips, the safeties, everybody, Tremaine Edmonds, they're going to feed off of that energy. And he's a kid. Arvell Reese is a kid, but when you watch him at the podium, there's a certain level of intensity that he has, and I don't know if he can be anything else. I don't know what his personality is outside of football. I don't know if he has the capability of laughing, because I've seen him smile, but I've never seen him laugh. I don't know. But he's exactly what the New York Giants need on this team. Robbie says that man loves, I don't think he knows anything other than football. Robbie, he loved football the way you love that dog in that picture, Rob. I keep telling you about that picture, that was pure happiness. But Arvell Reese is exactly what they need. Because just think about last year, you didn't have that one person on defense that was that intense. Like, Andrew Phillips was a violent tackler, violent player, but he's also coming out of the slot position, cornerback position. But when you looked at Bobby, and also when Micah McFadden went down, when you look at Bobby Okereke, and I like Bobby Okereke, it just, the level of intensity, the meanness, the toughness, it was always something missing. And when us Giants fans even talk about the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, or we talk about those old linebackers and stuff like that, we talk about the talent of these guys and how talented LT was, how talented Carl Banks was, how talented Gary Reason was, how talented Carson was, how talented Pepper Johnson was, and Leonard. We talk about how talented how good those teams were, but we always leave out, maybe not on purpose, maybe by accident, we forgot how mean those teams were, how mean LT was on top of being good, how mean Carl Banks, or the violence that Carl Banks played with, how mean Leonard Marshall was, how mean Gary Reeves and Carson was. We forget that portion of it. And when you see Arvell Reese, the intensity level is there. And all you need, you want more than one guy like that, but all you need is at least that one person that will bring it out of the other players on that defense. So as long as that kid is on the field, you're going to see a better version of Abdul Carter, a better version of Brian Burns, a better version of Tremaine Edmonds, all because they're feeding off the energy. I don't even know if he talks to people that were at practice. And Arvell Reese said he's constantly communicating with Tremaine Edmonds. The people who are at the training camp practice, did y'all hear Arvell Reese? Does he talk? Does he make note? Does he smile? Does he laugh? When he was signing autographs, was it a still face? I don't know. Did anybody get an Arvell Reese autograph? You know, were you scared to approach him? I don't know. My man said he's 6'4", 250 pounds. Ran a 4.40, man. We got monsters on this team, man. We really got monsters on this defense. And we just need Denard Wilson to magically put something together for this defense to look like what we've been waiting for it to look like. And that's the most exciting part for me, is this defense and what it's going to look like. Now, we got concerns. We're worried about the cornerback room. We're worried about the defensive line. And trust me, I understand. It's all, when it comes to defense, it's all about stopping the run, being able to stop the run. But my excitement to see this defense play, it's not going away. And I will always say this: worried about the cornerbacks, right? Being able to cover. The quarterback cannot throw the ball laying on his back. That's all I got to say to that. If you take care of the run, everything else will take care of itself. Because how fast Burns and Carter are getting to the quarterback already, even last year, how fast those guys got to the quarterback, I think it's going to be even faster this year. And with this new defensive scheme, just having your corner step up a little bit to get a hand on the receiver slows them up for maybe that half a second my man was talking about for Abdul Carter to actually get there. I'm excited for this defense. That is the brightest spot right now. That gives me the most optimism going into the season, is this defense and these new additions that we have, and then ultimately hoping that the secondary steps up. Shout out to my man Tudor with the $4.99 super chat. He says, why do Philadelphia Eagle fans keep their season tickets in the car dashboards so they can park their cars in the handicap space? That's hilarious. Because they got to have something wrong with them, right? I'm not going to use that other word, but they got something wrong with them. Shout out to my man Tuto, man. Rev says his mindset speaks for itself. It does. It does. It does. Black John Mara says, I'm with you. For anybody that hasn't, like, I please, anybody, again, after this stream, if you have a chance, if you have a chance, and if you have seen it already, go watch the Bob Papa and Carl Banks's most recent stream. And again, and watch Carl Banks's face when they start talking about this defense, and especially when they start talking about that second level with the edge rushers and the off-ball linebackers, to the point where he said even the guys in the reserve role, he was talking about Jack Kelly and Micah McFadden. He said even your backup linebackers are interesting to watch. Even your backup linebackers know what they're doing out there. The excitement on Carl Banks's face. And I remember when everybody was criticizing Carl Banks for criticizing Dexter Lawrence. I'm not going to say I felt alone, but I was one of the first people to say I'm glad he called out Dexter Lawrence. And some people like, oh, Carl Banks needs to shut his mouth. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. It's on the Believe Network. On the Believe Network. They're Believe in Giants. That's the channel that I'm talking about. And it was a disrespect for Carl Banks. Why is Carl Banks even talking? And I'm sitting there like, first of all, how old are you? If you feel like Carl Banks doesn't have the right to speak on anybody in the Giants organization, how young are you? How young are you? Two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks, a member of the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, should be a Hall of Famer. If anybody could talk ill about anybody on the New York Giants and didn't even do it out of malice, he did it out of love, it's Carl Banks. Carl Banks. My man Keith says, been there, done that. Banks, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's in the building. He sees these guys and he sees them at practice. He sees them in the locker room. He sees them in the cafeteria. He sees them walking around the halls. If anybody has a pulse of what this New York Giants team is, it's Carl Banks. And if anybody has a heart to criticize anybody on the Giants, it's Carl Banks. So me feeling that way about Carl Banks, when I see Carl Banks light up, smiling, throwing out all types of compliments for this defense, I'm like, yeah, okay. The same man that criticized Dexter Lawrence, who one of the best to ever do it as a nose tackle, is talking these guys up too at a certain way. And Carl Banks was right about Dexter Lawrence too. Let's not forget about that. He was right. He was right. Because there was something wrong. He was not putting up that maximum effort, and he saw it. And he tried to light a spark. Some people didn't like it. I'm from the old school, man. I understand what criticism does. Either people fold or they take it, and it becomes constructive criticism. But when you got a lot of people that are enablers, including a coach that I had a lot of respect for, the defensive line coach, Andre Patterson, running to the defense of Dexter Lawrence in the poor play, I was like, damn. Even Andre Patterson got excuses for Dexter Lawrence. Talking about running to the media guy, trying to cut up tapes of Dexter Lawrence. I'm like, no, man. Like, anybody that has watched this team play understood that there was something wrong last year with Dexter Lawrence. Carl Banks called it out, and there was a portion of the fan base that was calling out Carl Banks. Shame on those people. And you know who you are. It might be some people in the chat right now watching that was critical of Carl Banks calling out Dexter Lawrence. But how do you feel right now? How do you feel right now? Shout out to Carl Banks too, man. Carl Banks been ducking, man. I put a lot of invites out there for Carl Banks, man. One of my favorite Giants. I'm gonna keep on trying to get him on the show too, man. I am gonna keep on trying to get my man Carl Banks on the show. I would love to get him before the season starts, and I would love to have a conversation about the linebackers with him as well. So, Carl, if you're watching, it's late. It's late. You might be watching. Maybe you're watching. 216 people in here. Maybe one of those guys is Carl Banks. If you are, shout out to you. Dealer says, I mean, a lot of people, especially the talking heads, do toe the company line pretty close. They do. Some people, they know where the bread is buttered. But when you got the kind of cachet that Carl Banks has, you can say what you want to say. There's a certain level of respect that comes with that. Papa Joe says Banks would have been talk about it. Talk about it. Said Banks would have been MVP in Super Bowl 21, but Sims had a great game. Carl, again, during that Super Bowl in 86, right? In 86. I was too young to even know what football was. I was alive for that Super Bowl. Too young. When I went back and watched that Super Bowl, same thing. Carl Banks would have been MVP of the Super Bowl. How many tackles did he have that game? You think he would have? You think he had 30 damn? It seemed like he had 30 damn tackles in that game. How many stops? He was all over the place. But to your point, Sims went off, and people love quarterbacks. And he ended up being the first person to tell everybody, I'm going to Disneyland. That's another thing people forget. They know the Giants started the Gatorade, the Gatorade bath. But also, if I'm not mistaken, the first person to ever say I'm going to Disney World, I believe it was Phil Simms when he got the MVP. Correct me if I'm wrong. Shout out to the Giants, man. Tradition still goes on right now. Gatorade baths. And Super Bowl MVPs going to Disney World or Disneyland. Sorry, Disneyland. Got to say it respectfully. And then later on, the cars came, but it is what it is. Keith says, I'm dating myself, but I watched that Parcells Super Bowl in 86, man. Don't worry about dating yourself. We proud out here, man. For the OGs out there, shout out to y'all, man. Y'all saw the best and the worst of the New York Giants, man. So when we win this next Super Bowl, it's going to be even sweeter. Even sweeter. Keith says you're right, trendsetters for sure. Tiptoe says 14 tackles, 4 tackles. So he was all over the place. Are those the actual stats? Let me know. I remember watching that game. I was like, yo. And now, again, we understand Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor is Lawrence Taylor. That first Super Bowl, it was the Carl Banks show on defense. Now, the road to the Super Bowl is another. But that Super Bowl, Carl Banks was cooking in that first Super Bowl. Cooking. Shout out to my man Wales. I see a lot of people saying Wales. I didn't see what Wales at. Shout out to my man Wales. What's going on, Wales? He says, why do Dallas Cowboys fans keep their Super Bowl ring on their thumbs so they can hitchhike back to the 1990s? I love it. John Ford says the first player to spike football was a Giant, Homer Jones. I didn't even know that. Thank you for the fun fact. I didn't even know that. New York Giants are really trendsetters. Really, we got to get back to glory, man. We got to get back to glory, and hopefully John Harbaugh is the guy that leads us back to glory. Also, again, defense, right? We're keeping it on defense. We'd love to end it there. We're doing a little bit of reminiscing too, so. Brian Burns, again, and with Brian Burns. So we talked about Abdul Carter and him looking unblockable. We talked about Arvell Reese and his impact on his defense, just with his intensity and his violence style of play. And shout out to Arvell Reese, right? I want to point out a play from practice. We already know when it comes to Cam Scatterbull, right? A lot of people, a lot of defenders do not want to meet Cam Scatterbull in the hole. Pause. For those that understand what I'm saying, they don't want to meet Cam Scatterbull. A 20-year-old rookie, 21 years. I think he's 21 by now. He might be 21 by now. Met Cam Scatterbull and got the best of him. That'll tell you everything you need to know about Arvell Reese, because you already know a lot about Cam Scatterbull. And this rookie got the best of Cam Scatterbull when Cam Scatterbull was getting the best of almost everybody last year until that dirty play from Zach Bond. And the only reason why Zach Bond had the dirty play against Cam Scatterbull is because in the first game, he let Zach Bond know that you too little. Too little. Tiptoe says Reese met him and Scat folded. Folded. 6'5". And we already know Cam Scatterbull got good leverage. That's one thing that helps him. He's so low to the ground. I wish the video would have been out. They said that the pad pop was so loud it excited the whole defensive side. Some of y'all was in the crowd, man. Let me know if you was at that practice. Jessa, were you at that practice with that hit? Let me know, Jessa, because I know you went to those practice. You went to a couple of those practices. Were you at that practice yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday. Let me know. Was it really as loud as people said it was? The pads popping. And that's one thing as far as if you played football before, pads popping does something to you. The sound of pads popping does something for you. It either scares you or it excites you, depending on how you were. If you was the one bringing the wood or the lumber, I should say, pause, then you already know. And it fits even more. So I'm gonna pause it again. Papa Joe says Banks 14 tackles, 10 solos, 4 tackles for loss. He was cooking. Dealer says Reese is built like an old school linebacker. He'll play like he's built like old school linebacker, but runs a 4.4. Man, I can't wait. What was it? They also talked. So he had that play against Cam Scatterbull. He also chased him down for a tackle for loss on the backside. Chased him down. I cannot wait to see Arvell Reese play for real. I can't wait. And also, we know that preseason is going to be super duper vanilla. There's not going to be any stunts, any twists, any kind of elaborate blitz packages or anything like that. They're going to be playing straight up defense, either 3-4, nickel, all this stuff is going to happen. But boy, when it comes to week 1 versus Dallas and Denard Wilson really lets loose this defense, man, all they got to do is be able to make the plays. Break down and make the plays, and I think we're going to be in a good spot. Also, another thing that helps us right now when it comes to that Cowboys game, those offensive tackles for the Dallas Cowboys can be had. They're already struggling in practice. They're talking about Guyton fighting for his job. They talk about Terrence still not looking good. And in the first week, they got to go against Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau. So for those out there wondering and worried about that Dallas game and the history and them beating us, in recent years for the openers, get your popcorn ready for this game, because I think it's going to be a little bit different. And if you can get to Dak Prescott, who is very, very good against pressure, but if everything works together, if the cornerbacks in this press can get their hands on the wide receivers, and that's a big ask. We're talking about CeeDee Lamb, we're talking about George Pickens. It's It's a big ass, but if they can get their hands on him and slow him down just a bit, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and everybody else should be able to get Dak Prescott. And I cannot wait to see it. Captain Guy, what's going on with the $5 super chat? Says Leonard Marshall made Montana leave the AFC after that hit in the 90s championship game. Broke the man's pinky. Remember where his chin strap was? And the crazy thing about that is Leonard Marshall fell down. Leonard Marshall fell down. Joe Montana rolls right. And it seemed like it was in slow motion. He had no clue. No clue Leonard Marshall was right there. And yes. And when you see the replay, and they show you that angle where you see Joe Montana looking like he's ready to throw it, and the way that he gets hit, chin strap on the nose, pinky in the back, broke, and the New York Giants going to the Super Bowl. Shout out to Leonard Marshall, man. Shout out to Leonard Marshall. He said he killed his career with the 49ers. That's what happened. Not yet, though. Not yet, but you know what I'm saying. But yes. And then me as a kid wondering how the hell did Joe Montana end up on the Chiefs? And what was the video game at that time? Was it Madden back then? No, Joe Montana had his own football game, didn't he? Didn't Joe Montana have his own football game? Nintendo? Now I'm showing my age. Montana Theismann was worse because Theismann's leg got snapped. And that was LT that hit Theismann. It was a compound fracture too. His bone was sticking out his damn out the skin for Theismann. That was so bad it scared Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was screaming for the trainers. It was on Sega. Okay, there you go. Tecmo Bowl was a cheat code, man. Tecmo Bowl, all you had to do was spam the spin move and you get a touchdown, especially if you played with the Oakland Raiders. Not even the Oakland Raiders. What, the LA Raiders at the time? With Bo Jackson. I'm going to just say the Raiders. You spam the spin move, you was getting a touchdown in Tecmo Bowl. That was the sauce right there. That was the sauce. Said Captain Guy said to snap the half. He ended Joe Theismann's career. It was over after that. Over after that. Papa Joe says those quarterbacks were tough back then. Sims used to get killed. Can't breathe on them. You can't tap them on the head, man. You can't sneeze on a quarterback now. Yeah. Who was the Philadelphia quarterback? Number 7. And he was always on LT's highlights when they played Philadelphia. He was an analyst. Jaworski. Jaworski? He was always on the highlights for Lawrence Taylor and everybody else. What was it? Not Cunningham. Cunningham too, but Cunningham was getting away from folks. Jaworski, right? Ron, yeah, the guy, yeah. Number 7, I think. No, was it number 7? Because Cunningham wore number 7 too, though. Ron Jaworski. Did Jaworski wear number 7 too? I might be tripping. Ron Bees, let me know if I'm tripping. It was definitely Jaworski, though. Boy, did he hate seeing Jaws. Exactly. That's his nickname, Jaws. That's exactly. Yeah, he was terrified. I know he's nightmares to this day of LT in the Big Blue Wrecking Crew. LT ate up Jaws. That's a fact. That's a fact. All right, for everybody that's new, and it's a lot of new people in here probably. We've hit that part of the show where, again, it's a family reunion. What happens at family reunions? At some point in time at a family reunion, people are drunk and they start telling stories. And this is that part of the stream right now. So I understand if some of you guys dip off. But for those that know this show and hang out at the family reunion every Saturday, we got a couple more stories in this, and we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this pretty soon because we already hit the 2-hour mark. But I feel like there's a couple more stories we might need to be told before we get up out of here. Tyrone Hall says OC tried to kill Donovan, and I loved every minute of it. Yeah, no, yeah, OC was a finesse player, a lot of moves, but he also had a tough, a mean streak to him. Tuck was different. Tuck was just tough, violent, strong as hell. Yeah. Miguel Franco says Jaworski. Yeah, but however you spell his name, it was Jaws. And he'll let you know too, man. He'll let you know too. He used to get pummeled in those games. John Fenwick says Dash LT cut in front of Montana, and Montana moved out of the way right into Marshall. Yo, and like again, even when you watch it in full speed, it looked like it's slow motion. Like he looked like he had time, and also it looked like whoever he was about to throw that ball to was open. He absolutely sidestepped him, got his feet together, wind up, and boom. Lights out. Turn out the lights. It was over. Showing my age again. Dealer says they used to call Tuck big midget. That's what they used to call him. I don't remember that. That's hilarious though. Stephen R says Runyon Sr. has nightmares of straight hand. That's a fact. And that's crazy too, because normally sons are usually taller than their fathers. John Runyon ain't taller. I mean, John Runyon Jr. ain't taller than he ain't bigger than his pops. John Runyon was huge. Prentice says Jim Burt got the punch out on Hall of Fame Roger Craig that game. That's a fact. And Roger Craig went to the Hall of Fame today. Shout out to Roger Craig, man. Shout out to Roger Craig. Hopefully Carl Banks doesn't have to wait that long, but it's looking like he might have to wait that long. Keith says the 85 Bears woke us up. Facts. Like I suggest anybody that's younger, that Giants fans, and some of y'all might not have gone back and watched any of these games because you don't feel like they were relevant. Go back and watch these games. Go back and watch the playoff runs, not just the Super Bowl games. Go watch these playoff runs, and then you'll really get an idea of what people mean when they say the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, or when they say we got to get back to that 86 defense. We got to get back to Super Bowl defense. You really get that understanding, because it's been a long time since the New York Giants were like that. And it's not a coincidence. It's not they skip over 07, they skip over 2011 defenses, and those were good defenses. They go all the way back to those LT, Carl Banks, and Big Blue Wrecking Crew days for a reason. And that's no disrespect to Straight Hand, Tuck, OC, and all those guys too, because that defense is the reason why we won those Super Bowls too. But as far as the collection of players on the defensive side at all levels, shout out to Mark Collins too, man. At all levels, it just was a different feeling. Definitely a different feeling. Prentice says Redskins, Bears, Niners, Giants ran the 80s in the NFC. That's a fact. Matter of fact, right after we beat the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl, the Redskins beat Commanders beat them right after us. Imagine that kind of hard. That, like the Buffalo Bills to go to 4 straight Super Bowls and lose 4 straight Super Bowls. I don't think there's anything worse than that. And to still not have a Super Bowl after all these years too. Yeah. Keith says you see the reincarnation flashes of the 86 defense like the 2000. Listen, I don't want to put that. I don't want to put that on this defense right now. I want to see these guys play. And I want them to have their own identity. I'll say that. I want them to have their own identity. But I'll be lying to you if I didn't say that I try to put things together. This person could be that person. This guy can be Carl Banks in this situation. This guy could be LT in this situation. Nobody can be LT. But you get what I'm saying. There's some similarities there, but those guys proved it. And these guys have not proven a thing yet. It's just a lot of expectations, a lot of hopes, a lot of dreams, but there is a lot of talent also on this defense this year. And if they can get their thing together, these cornerbacks will look a lot better too. Greg says the Bills are the most choking NFL team of all time. Yeah, losing 4 straight Super Bowls is up there. Absolutely up there. He says that's what you're supposed to do to manage your expectations. Listen. Hey. Nah, I appreciate it, man. Had a good night. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. I know what time is it. We 10 minutes over, 11 minutes over, the regularly scheduled time, but we had a good time, man. Hopefully everybody feels the same way. Next time you see Late Night Giants Talk, the next time you're part of the New York Giants family reunion, we have played a preseason game versus the Minnesota Vikings. And we will definitely be recapping that game and then talk about, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the preseason after week 1. But make sure you guys tune in for that. Obviously, regular videos, throughout the week. And yeah, we had a good time. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And for one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows Big Blue Nation. Let's go.